Definitely a millennial when he's pulling up to McDonald's with those biceps looking all like fit and then eating McDonald's. Maybe Super Size Me was after his time. I don't like peak sludge. I don't like stuff that doesn't decompose after a while. So Drew on my team watches Graham Stephan videos. He's a millennial. He helps us out with a lot of what's going on YouTube and says it's something I should check out. I know Kevin, from watching Shark Tank and some people that he partners with. So I don't know him personally, but know of him. So I was like, hey, this would be cool to kind of see what's going on and just get a glimpse into what millennials are doing with their money and what old codgers might say about it.
Here, aka Kevin O'Leary, and today I'm going to have a look at a video I've never watched called Millennial Money, living on $1.6 million a year.
This is ironic. I'm watching a video of someone watching another video. So it's like very meta here, very, we'll see how this goes.
Los Angeles. Before you start, smash the like button like I'm doing here. That helps the algorithm. All right, now I'm going to watch this thing. We'll see if I like it or not. I like to tell it like it is.
I always believed that I would be a millionaire, and I think originally my goal was to try to hit that by 30. Ended up surpassing that by a decent amount. This is the moment. My name is Graham Stephan. I'm 29 years old. I make $1.6 million per year and live in Los Angeles, California. And welcome to, wait for it, Millennial Money.
Very well produced video so far.
So I'm a full-time real estate agent, real estate investor, and YouTuber.
I just started watching. I thought this guy's going to be a dick. But now as I'm just seeing the first few frames, sounds like he's for real.
My mortgage is just over $2,800 a month. The market value of the other unit next to me is about $2,500 a month. Then between the equity I get and the tax write-offs from using the garage as my office, it basically works out to be a free place for me to live.
Okay, that's pretty shrewd. This guy knows what he's doing. He's basically bought 2 properties and he's using the tax code fairly and legally to try and live in his place for free because he's profiting off the amount he's getting on rent.
I just wonder if Graham is married or has a girlfriend, because I remember when I was getting married, I'm like, we're going to buy a 4-plex, we'll live in 1 unit, we'll have renters in the other 3 units. My wife's like, so we'll be landlords to the people that live next to us, and what's this 4-plex going to look like? And, and she actually made a good point, and we ended up doing it. We did not end up doing it, which I was happy about.
After he services the mortgage. Good idea.
So I spend about $200 a month on groceries, and I do price shop between grocery stores. I'll kind of make the rounds and just stock up on whichever item is the cheapest.
It's amazing when you don't have kids, what you can spend on food. I just kind of feel like a luxury once enjoyed is a necessity. I am a bit of a snob, and what amount we spend on food is so much more than what he's talking about here.
At which store. Every morning I have my same 2.
I also don't have a budget. What we do is pay ourselves first and then live off whatever's left over, so we don't use our time and thought kind of, reducing and, like only being limited to like this much for gifts or this much for entertainment. If the money's there, we spend it. If it's not, we don't. But we make sure that we take 18% off the top. Don't know that he's really budgeting, but they're showing it on here, so I just thought it'd be worth mentioning.
2 eggs with ham and cheese and half a bagel with store-bought generic brand cream cheese is my favorite to do that. I refuse to spend money on 2 things. Number 1, I think everyone knows, is coffee. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, the markup of coffee at Starbucks and Coffee Bean and a lot of the...
I would save a lot of money if I just spent money on coffee, but I'm like an amateur barista. I went to Intelligentsia, got trained by some of their baristas. I have 2 espresso machines. I made an art cart that is called The Roast, because I like to do comedy and roast coffee. So I'm just going to drive it around town when COVID's passed and roast people while I make them free coffee so I can build relationships, have some fun at the same time. But yeah, I think it's more expensive for me to make a cup of coffee than if I went to Starbucks, but I don't like Starbucks, it's all burned anyway.
There's places out there, so I just make it at home for 20 cents.
I love this guy. This is exactly what I'm talking about. He's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's spending his money on. He's got it graphed out. He's very, very conscious of not wasting a single cent. Nothing wrong with that. That's very smart. Coffee is a big money waster. You get really hosed when you buy it.
Also design.
I will say this about coffee, like if you love it, like what are you earning money for anyway? Like, it's great. Graham found a way to just take care of it at home and enjoy it, and it's super inexpensive for him. But, you know, like, if it's something you love and you have the money for it, I don't have a problem with that. It's great to be conscientious with your money, but not controlled by your money. And so I don't really have anything to argue with at this point. It's pretty nice to have him show exactly what he's doing, and so everybody could see it. And Kevin's been great so far too.
Designer clothing. Don't see the point in going and spending $700 on like Gucci shoes. So I end up saving about 90.
I believe in something called value-based spending. So there's three measures of worth. Price, that's what we pay. Cost, it's the economic impact. And value, it's our feeling of satisfaction or overall enjoyment. And so, yeah, if there's certain things that you really enjoy, like I personally like a little Etro jacket, you know, or a few over the years. And those are really expensive out of Milan, but I love them. I enjoy them. So it's fine if I've got the cash to pay for it. And by the way, I'm still saving such a huge percentage of my income overall. But if it's not something that moves the needle for you, then don't do it. You've got to find out what's important to you. And for some people, it doesn't cost hardly anything. And other things, there might be some things that you are willing to splurge on. It depends on who you are, but don't feel like you need to cut everything out in order to be wealthy. The Millionaire Next Door, if you read that book, is all about how to be a miser and a penny pincher and to cut back and to scrimp and save. But there's no way that you shrink your way to wealth. It's a game of value creation. It's important not to spend more than what you make, but it's also important to enjoy life along the way.
9% of my income just because my income is so high and I keep my expenses so low, and most of the properties just kind of like pay for my living expenses. So anything else I make is really just seen as a bonus, and I save and invest it.
Now, the one thing I would disagree with him on is, you know, buying really cheap clothes. I'd rather say, look, that's okay for jeans and a t-shirt maybe, but every once in a while, buy a spectacular piece that's going to last you your lifetime. I like to buy great suits.
I'm with him. I already said it. I like it.
I want to look good, but I don't waste money. All my suits are the same. I just have 25 of them. They last forever.
Graham became a millionaire at 26. I became I think it was multi-millionaire at 26. And I was done with that by 29 by making mistakes, by, you know, getting involved in hard money lending and real estate and overextending myself because I'd never lost and thought I was a Midas and that everything was always going to work out well. But Warren Buffett says you find out who's swimming naked when the tide rolls back. In 2008, kicked me really hard, but taught me massive lessons that really have helped me be much more sustainable and prepared as we've gone through a little bit of chaos here in 2020.
So I got into real estate basically as soon as I turned 18 years old because I had no other options. I didn't get into college. I had really bad grades in high school, and I saw getting my real estate license honestly as a way where I could just get 1 year of work experience and then reapply to colleges. But it turned out to be
Regardless of resources, you got to be resourceful. So I like it.
a career I really loved. So I ended up living with my dad for the first few years. I moved out in my early 20s, and that was when I bought another property.
This guy's living proof you don't need secondary education to make it. I mean, you know, everybody says you got to go to college. Look, I'm not against going to college, but it is no way a prerequisite for being successful. He's living proof.
The first property I bought was when I was 21 years old. It was a short sale for $59,500 in San Bernardino. It was a foreclosure that was being sold by the bank. And at the time, I had been saving up as a real estate agent, basically using all of my commissions, just putting it in a savings account. I bought that property in cash.
I do like this entire, like, what I would call like pounce investing or capitalizing, where he's built up liquidity to make money on the buy, to find a property that's in foreclosure that he knows he could sell for a lot more because it's his profession. He's a realtor. He knows what the market is, who the buyers are, and what to do. So it's investor DNA. It's capitalizing instead of just automatically handing money over. So I love it.
Actually appraised and was refinanced for like $260,000.
There you go. Money on the buy. That's an example.
So he took advantage of dislocated market. 2007, 2008, some part of 2009, housing had been crushed. He took advantage of that. He bought it out of foreclosure from a bank. Obviously, it was a great trade. You can't do it all.
Everybody else is extended, putting all their money in a retirement plan. The market starts to go down. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing. Here's someone who had a savings account, not earning anything. And people are like, how could you be so dumb? The market's always going to go up. And what he did was he took that smaller amount of money and really multiplied it. So a very smart move.
All the time, but he was able to do it because he'd saved his money.
My investing strategy really hasn't changed since I was 21, and all of it has really just been about real estate. If anything,
See, he's in the real estate game. He's a realtor. He's focused on it. He's interested in it. He said he loved it. Now, if you think, I'm just going to do this part-time, I don't like real estate, but I'm just like, that's where people get their butts kicked. And so real estate, is it a good investment? It depends on who you are. Risk is in the investor, not the investment. Is it aligned with your investor DNA? Are you knowledgeable about it? Because knowledge will pay dividends.
I'm just looking to buy more expensive real estate now that makes a little bit more money, but otherwise I've just kept doing the same thing over and over again.
Nothing wrong with doing what you're great at. That's clearly what he's doing here. Graham is focused on real estate, bringing in about $15,000 a month. But here's what you should be doing while this is happening, because real estate is just one sector of the economy and goes through cycles too. If you're investing, diversify out of real estate. Now, obviously, it's hard for him to do that because he
I don't know about this, because if you diversify into other things that you know nothing about, that actually is diversification. It could be risky. Only having one property, there's risk. But there's different things you can do within real estate. There's fix and flip. There's lease options. There's seller financing. There's round robin auctions that you can do. There's fractionalized ownership. There's commercial versus residential. So stay within your knowledge, but protect the downside. Like Andrew Carnegie said, he put all of his eggs in one basket, watched it like a hawk. If you do diversify, as you have more capital, make sure it's into things still aligned with your investor DNA and not out of your expertise.
He wants to keep buying more houses. But it's very prudent sometimes to put something aside and just buy the overall market, an index or something, so you get diversification of your net worth. Because when real estate slows down,
I'm not going to be about investing in the market. Nope.
you have other investments that can continue to perform.
Right here is part of his diversification strategy. He's got YouTube that's bringing in money. It's also probably bringing in clientele and attention, getting in this special right here. So that is a form of using his expertise and creating another investment, because I think small businesses, real estate, and intellectual property are the big three moving forward, and this is the intellectual property play.
I had no idea that anyone would actually watch me, and I had no idea that I can actually make any money doing this, so I started it really just with the intention of having fun. I'd always wanted to do it, but I also felt like, who would want to watch me? And I felt like I didn't have the personality for it, and I just felt like, I should probably postpone it, but I just made it.
A lot of people have their doubts. You took action anyway. It's about progress, not perfection. So I like that this is being shared in here.
Video one day, spur of the moment. It was a slow open house, and I just filmed with my iPhone, the selfie side, just talked about how I got started in real estate. And that was such a fun experience, and I remember that video getting like 9 or 10 views and just being like, oh my God, like 9 people have seen this video. So I started making more videos, and once I started doing about 2 videos a week, it's just the growth.
Got to plug my son, Garrett Gunderson, just posted his first 2 YouTube videos, 25 and 29 views. I haven't mentioned anything, but look for him on YouTube, especially if you like Star Wars and games like Battlefront. Anyway, little plug there.
Growth really just exploded, it seemed like.
So he's really figured out how the algorithms work and how to produce content that people want to generally check in on every week. And when you have 1 million subs, you basically have a business. You're a broadcaster. That's what you're doing.
There you go.
So he really has figured that model out. Kid's a hustler.
Good points. Good points, Kevin.
So right now, probably like 85% of my income is affiliated with YouTube in some way or another, and then the remaining 15% is through real estate sales or real estate investments. So since I've always been self-employed, I've never had a formal like 401k, but I do have a SEP 401k. I've thrown some money in there at the end of the year, just if it's left over, just as a hedge. But then as far as savings are concerned, I always like to keep about $20,000 to $30,000 in one of my checking accounts just to cover anything that could come up in the short term or to draw from if I have any expenses that come up. But other than that, all of my other...
I like at least 6 months of liquidity, at least, if not more. And then that's a good capitalization fund.
Their money is spread out through several high-interest savings accounts.
His monthly income is 150 grand. You know from before that he told you 15,000 of that came from his rental income. This kid is a YouTuber. He's making the majority of his income running a broadcasting facility. That's
even more reason not to diversify out of real estate. Just stick with it. That's the one point that I would divest from this, because he is diversified from the standpoint he's got YouTube, he's got real estate investments, and a real estate business. That's plenty. No reason to get outside of expertise.
That's the way you should look at it. That's a big number for YouTube. You can only do that if you have 1 million+ subs, and he does. That's extraordinary.
So coin collecting was actually something I really got into as a kid. For some reason, I found it really cool to collect like old American coins and paper money. And what I would do is go across the street from where I would work to a bank, and the bank teller knew me, and she knew me because I would go in and always ask for like any old money that she would have. Some lady came in the bank and exchanged $200 of all just like perfect condition $10 bills from 1934. So some of these are worth up to $200 depending on the condition. Others are worth more like $40 to $50. So I wouldn't really consider these an investment. Like, I think it's probably way better for me to put my money in the stock market than it is for me to get like, you know, old money and just keep it for a long time. But this is just a fun hobby.
Coin collecting, old note collecting, you can make money doing that. I find it boring. I have some coins I've collected, including some gold coins. I bought them for the gold, but I'd much rather collect watches. You know what I like about watches? You can wear them.
I don't know how many millennials have watches, though, so maybe just a difference in generations here.
Very much like it gives you a little jolt there. So I bought my Tesla in April of 2019. You get so many rebates back for it. The financing is so cheap. Everything that went on with the car, I calculated that it was going to cost me $78 a month out of pocket net in the first year.
That's smart.
Not
I like
counting the opportunity.
I mean, it's a depreciating asset for the most part, but it's one that enhances lifestyle. And when you look at the tax and benefits and whatever other things he's looking at here, great. I mean, as long as you got the cash to handle it, which he does, then treat yourself.
Opportunity cost of then having all the money left over that I could then go and reinvest. So I figured like depreciation is going to be minimal. I'm going to get some really great tax write-offs from it. So it's going to almost be a free car. And I figured like, oh, you know, that's the video I'm going to make. Then that video ended up getting now almost 6 million views. I think the total cost of the car with everything, all out the door with taxes and like all of the options, everything was like 44 grand. So I ended up making money from getting the car.
That's
I
awesome.
actually don't think a car is that necessary anymore, bottom line. But if you're going to own a car, own a Tesla. It's very efficient. He's figured out a way to take advantage of tax incentives to make it under $100 a month worth of cost. But so many ways to transport yourself these days. Cars also have insurance costs to them. You have to store them. I'm not a big fan of owning anything anymore when it comes to transportation, but he's done it well, nothing wrong with that, and he enjoys driving it.
Personal preference and lifestyle.
Well, I think we only lost like 2 or 3 pasta noodles, so I think we did pretty good.
So I have an amazing girlfriend, and her and I share a lot of the same values in terms of saving and spending money, and I find it fun that she is just as frugal.
I feel like most people like date or marry someone that's their polar opposite money personality, so that's cool that they're on the same page here.
As I am, so we can have a great time trying to figure out like where is the best happy hour spot and like how we could save a little bit more money doing this. And she's the one too that's also very encouraging of like, we don't have to go out tonight to happy hour sushi. She doesn't sound like that, by the way, but she encourages me to like, you know, we could go cook food at home, or instead of going out to see a movie, we could just pop something on Netflix.
Always great to have a partner that shares your economic values. You really don't want somebody that spends their brains out. That's why he's so happy. She's a wonderful gal, it looks like, but she also is in sync with the way he spends money. Very smart.
Definitely a millennial when he's pulling up to McDonald's with those biceps looking all like fit and then eating McDonald's. Maybe Super Size Me was after his time. I don't like peak sludge. I don't like stuff that doesn't decompose after a while. One place I would divert from his habits here.
Okay, I know it sounds weird too, but I do end up rewarding myself every now and then at McDonald's from the dollar menu.
Not a chance in hell I'd eat that. Look, the guy's in shape, so maybe indulging once in a while.
Millennial,
really
Kevin, that's why.
What I put in my body.
It's not
Metabolism's
something that
there.
happens too often, but it does become this thing where it's like, that's my treat.
Look, I'm not going to eat fast food, but I am going to buy a great bottle of wine.
So in terms of net worth goals, I really don't have any, and I have no desire of becoming a billionaire. I don't even know what I would possibly do with that amount of money. I would like to hit 10 million. I feel like that would be just a decent number.
10 million is a good number. You know, they say it's almost impossible to make the first million. He's already done that. 5 million is next to impossible. 10 million gets easier actually. Once you have 5 million,
Yeah,
you're
I'm with you,
investing
Kevin.
in other things and it helps you grow your net worth.
You
More
don't
opportunities.
need to be as extreme as I am. You don't need to skimp on every purchase at
I love that Graham was like, hey, you don't need to do it the way I do it. I'm just willing to share and open up my life to show you what I'm doing. I really respect it. I think it's pretty cool.
all. You don't need to work 12 hours a day, but you do need to think outside the box.
Yes, you do. You have to do all of that stuff. Don't listen to him, listen to me. Yeah, you got to skimp. Yeah, you got to work 15 hours a day. That's what it takes. It's very
I got to tell you, man, I don't work 15 hours a day ever. I maybe did in my 20s. I don't scrimp. I think there's a way to win than play. There's a different way to do it. Now, that's an old school way that maybe works temporarily until it doesn't, right? Until your health suffers, until your family suffers, until you're not enjoying life anymore, until you forgot who you actually were, what all this was for. You're checking all the boxes, but not getting what you want. So a little divergent here from what Kevin's saying. Well, good video overall. A lot of good points in it. Useful to look at. Find your own path, discover your investor DNA, learn and glean from what you can see here, and figure out what's your game. Want to continue the path to be a better investor? Make sure that you're not losing money and taking too much risk? Well, click here and learn about strengths vesting.